Alaska, a land of endless wilderness, towering mountains, and breathtaking beauty. But hidden in its icy shadows are places where the past refuses to stay buried, where whispers echo through abandoned halls. Footsteps follow you in empty rooms, and unseen eyes watch from the dark. Tonight, we're taking you deep into the last frontier's most chilling secrets. These are the top 10 most haunted places in Alaska, and if you're brave enough, we'll take you inside. 1. The Alaskan Hotel and Bar, Juno. You step off the rainy streets of Juno and push open the heavy wooden doors of the Alaskan Hotel and Bar. The scent of aged whiskey and sea salt greets you, and for a moment, you might believe you've stepped back in time. Built in 1913, this was once the pride of the booming gold rush, a lively mix of lodging, a bustling bar, and, in the shadows upstairs, a brothel that catered to lonely miners. It's the oldest operating hotel in Alaska, and many say it's never truly empty. Locals tell the story of a young bride, a woman who waited weeks for her husband to return from the mines, only to be betrayed. To survive, she worked upstairs as a prostitute. When her husband found out, rage took over. She was found lifeless in her room, and that's when the hauntings began. You're in room 218. The floor creaks under invisible footsteps. A whisper brushes your ear too close to be the wind. Guests have sworn they've seen her pale, eyes hollow, dress torn, drifting in the hallways. Others speak of a miner's ghost who still roams, searching for something he lost long ago, and a child's laughter echoing down the corridors when no children are there. Even the staff avoid certain rooms. 19, 315, 321, where glasses slide across tables, doors slam without warning, and the temperature plummets in seconds. The air feels thick here, heavy, with memories that refuse to die. And as you stand in the dim hallway, the lights flicker. You hear it a slow knock, coming from inside your room. Two, Red Onion Saloon, Skagway. You push open the swinging doors of the Red Onion Saloon, and the air inside smells of whiskey, cigar smoke, and something older, sweeter, like a perfume that hasn't been sold in 100 years. Back in 1898, during the fever of the Klondike Gold Rush, this was the most famous saloon and brothel in Skagway. Downstairs was all rowdy laughter, the clink of glasses, and piano music. Upstairs, behind closed doors, deals were made in whispers, and hearts were often broken. But the gold is long gone, and yet, the women who once worked here never truly left. The most famous is Lydia, a beautiful prostitute whose life ended in mystery. Some say a jealous client strangled her. Others believe she fell victim to another working girl's envy. Whatever the truth, her spirit is restless. Tourists have reported the scent of her rose perfume trailing past them, even when the room is empty. They've felt the sudden brush of silk skirts against their legs, heard the gentle creak of a bed upstairs when no one is there. Then there's Diamond Lil, the madam who ruled these halls with a velvet glove and an iron will. Her shadow has been spotted watching from the balcony, her eyes following visitors with cold curiosity. And somewhere in the dark corners lurks an angry male spirit, his presence marked by sudden drops in temperature and the overwhelming smell of tobacco. Sometimes, the footsteps start above your head, slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. You follow the sound, climb the stairs and open the door, but the room is empty. Still, the perfume lingers, and in that moment, you realize they never stopped working here. They've just been waiting for you. Three, historic Anchorage Hotel. Anchorage. The historic Anchorage Hotel stands proud in the heart of the city, its brick facade a silent witness to over a century of stories. Built in 1916, it once hosted gold prospectors, politicians, and travelers chasing the wild promise of Alaska. The lobby still gleams with old-world charm, but if you linger after dark, you'll feel something else. The most infamous tale here begins with the death of Anchorage's first police chief, Jack Sturgis. In 1921, he was found just steps from the hotel, shot in the back with his own gun. His killer was never caught. Guests say that on cold, quiet nights, the chief's shadow drifts along the hallways, still searching for the man who ended his life. But he's not alone. The staff keep a logbook of paranormal encounters, a tradition here, filled with guest reports of children laughing in empty rooms, footsteps trailing just behind them, and the feeling of being watched. Room doors open on their own, mirrors fog mysteriously, and sometimes a woman in a long white dress appears at the end of the hallway, only to vanish when you take a step closer. Imagine checking in for the night. The hallways are silent, save for the faint hum of the city outside. You slip your key into the door and hear a knock from inside your room. Slowly, the door swings open by itself, and the air inside is ice cold. In the historic Anchorage Hotel, every creak of the floorboards feels like an invitation or a warning. And once you spend the night here, you might leave with a story of your own. Do you want me to write 4? Igloo City Hotel next, with the same intense storytelling style. It's one of the creepiest on the list. 4. Igloo City Hotel, Cantwell. You're driving along the Lonely Parks Highway, mountains looming in the distance, when a strange shape appears on the horizon, a giant white igloo rising from the wilderness. Its cracked walls and dark windows seem to watch you as you approach. This is the Igloo City Hotel, built in the 1970s by a man with a dream to lure tourists with a piece of Alaskan whimsy. But the permits never came. The money ran out, and the dream rotted in the cold. For decades, it has stood empty, at least. That's what people think. Travelers swear they've seen a pale figure standing in the upper windows, staring out toward the road. Some say it's a woman in white. Others insist it's a gaunt man with hollow eyes. When they stop to look closer, the windows are dark, but the feeling of being watched lingers, heavy and cold. Truckers passing at night report strange lights flickering inside, even though there's no electricity. A few have heard tapping on their windshields when parked nearby, only to find nothing there, and fresh handprints fading in the frost. One hiker claimed he heard breathing just over his shoulder, though the igloo was silent and still, until a shadow moved behind the broken glass. They say the unfinished hotel became a trap not for guests, but for something else, something that doesn't want to be forgotten. And when you stand alone in front of its massive, empty shell, the wind whistling through its hollow corridors sounds less like wind and more like a whisper calling your name. 5. Jesse Lee Home for Children, Seward. The ruins of the Jesse Lee Home for Children sit on a lonely hill above Seward, their crumbling walls swallowed by moss and silence. Built in 1926, it was meant to be a refuge for Alaska's orphans, a place of safety and warmth. But in March 1964, the Good Friday earthquake struck. Walls cracked, ceilings collapsed, and the children were scattered into the chaos. The building never reopened, but some say the children never truly left. Visitors who dare to explore the abandoned halls speak of faint giggles echoing through the empty corridors, the sound of jump rope slapping against the floor, and tiny footsteps racing just out of sight. Sometimes, an old music box begins to play its lullaby warped and slow, even though it's covered in decades of dust. One man tells of standing in the main hallway when he felt a tug at his jacket, gentle but deliberate. He turned, expecting to see a child, but the corridor behind him was empty. Another swears he saw small handprints appear in the grime on a broken window. Even as he watched, the air here feels strangely heavy, as though the building itself remembers the fear, the confusion, and the sudden end to so many young lives. At night, when the fog rolls in from the bay, the silhouette of the Jesse Lee home becomes a black shadow against the moon, and some say, if you listen closely, you'll hear children's voices calling for someone to come take them home. 6. Russian Bishop's House, Sitka. In the quiet coastal town of Sitka stands the Russian Bishop's House, a relic from another time. Built in 1842 by the Russian-American Company, it served as both a religious and administrative center. Its walls once echoed with the chants of priests, the rustle of robes, and the disciplined footsteps of students in the missionary school below. Today, it's a carefully preserved museum, but preservation doesn't always mean peace. Those who work late here speak of footsteps climbing the wooden stairs when no one else is in the building. Shadows slip across the walls, too tall and too quick to belong to any living person. In one upstairs room, visitors have seen a woman in a long blue dress, her face pale, her expression unreadable. She appears for only a moment, and then nothing. More unsettling still are the reports of a tall man dressed in a priest's cassock, his head bowed as if in prayer. He never looks up, but the air grows icy as he passes, and the scent of burning incense lingers long after he vanishes. One night, a security guard making rounds heard murmured voices in the chapel, low, steady, like a sermon in a language he couldn't understand. But when he opened the door, the chapel was dark and empty, except for the faint sound of the door clicking shut behind him. The Russian Bishop's House has stood for nearly 2 centuries, weathering war, earthquakes, and time itself. And yet, some say the souls who served here still walk its halls, bound not by chains, but by faith, and something far older than the town around them. 7. Sheldon Jackson College, Sitka. The abandoned halls of Sheldon Jackson College sit silent now, the wind off the harbor rattling loose shutters and whispering through cracked windows. Founded in the late 1800s and expanded over the decades, it was once a proud Presbyterian school, bustling with the sounds of lectures, footsteps, and laughter. But financial troubles closed its doors in 2007, and the campus has since become a playground for shadows. Locals avoid it after dark. They speak of a little girl seen peering from an upstairs window, her hair dark, her eyes impossibly sad. When someone goes inside to find her, The window is empty, and the hall smells faintly of damp chalk and dust. Explorers have reported hearing the soft scrape of a desk chair moving, the flutter of unseen papers, and voices murmuring just beyond the next doorway. In one classroom, the air drops so sharply in temperature that you can see your breath, even in summer. Some have caught faint light glowing in the library, long after power was cut to the buildings. One night, a group of thrill-seekers dared each other to walk the length of the main hall. Halfway through, they froze. A set of footsteps began following them, slow and steady. When they turned, the hall behind them was empty, but the sound kept coming, closer, until the last person in line swore they felt a cold hand on their shoulder. Now, the college sits watching over Sitka like a slumbering giant. But step inside, and you'll find it's not sleeping at all. It's waiting, quietly, for the next visitor to wander too far. Eight, Kennakott Ghost Town, Katina, deep in the heart of Wrangell St. Elias National Park lies Kennakott, a copper mining town that once pulsed with life. In the early 1900s, the mines here produced millions of dollars worth of ore. Men labored day and night, their breath turning to frost in the frigid air, their dreams tied to the rock beneath their feet. But by 1938, the copper was gone. The company pulled out, and the town was abandoned its homes, hospital, and towering red mill left to the snow and silence. Yet silence isn't the only thing that lingers here. Visitors have reported the rhythmic clank of machinery echoing from the mill, even though its gears have been rusted solid for decades. Others have seen a lone figure in dusty miner's clothes, standing at the edge of the catwalks, staring down into the valley. When approached, he simply fades away. A park ranger once swore he heard the metallic ringing of a pickaxe from deep inside one of the boarded-up shafts. As he turned to leave, a cold draft swept through the tunnel, carrying with it the faint scent of sweat and earth, as if the miners were still toiling below. The hospital is perhaps the most unsettling. Its hallways creak under phantom footsteps, and more than one explorer has heard coughing from empty rooms, a reminder that not everyone here died in accidents. Some were simply claimed by the long Alaskan winters. Kennakott is a place frozen in time, a ghost town in every sense. And when the wind howls through its hollow buildings, it's easy to imagine the miners still working, still waiting for a train that will never come. 9. Eldred Rock Lighthouse, Lynn Canal. Standing alone on a small island in the icy waters of Lynn Canal, the Eldred Rock Lighthouse has faced over a century of storms, shipwrecks, and tragedy. Built in 1905 after the infamous sinking of the Clara Nevada, a steamer rumored to be carrying stolen gold, the lighthouse was meant to guide sailors to safety. But for some, it became their final sight before the sea claimed them. The Clara Nevada's wreck lies just beneath these waters. Its passengers and crew never recovered. Locals whisper that the gold was cursed and that the dead never left. Lighthouse keepers over the decades have reported strange knocks on the tower door during blizzards, only to find no one outside. At night, pale lights drift across the shoreline, bobbing like lanterns, vanishing when approached. One keeper swore he heard frantic pounding on the glass of the lantern room, followed by the muffled cries of men begging to be let in. When he opened the hatch, there was only the endless roar of the wind and the dark sea below. Even today, fishermen sometimes spot a figure standing at the railing, a man in an old-fashioned coat, his face hidden beneath a cap. He stares out toward the wreck's resting place, unmoving. Moments later, he's gone. The lighthouse still stands, its beams sweeping across the cold black water. But those who know its history say the light doesn't just guide ships, it keeps watch over restless souls, trapped between the depths below and the storms above. Ten, Van Gilder Hotel, Seward. In the center of Seward stands the Van Gilder Hotel, its brick walls weathered by more than a century of storms. Built in 1916 as an office building, it was later converted into a hotel, the kind with creaky staircases, narrow hallways, and the feeling that every corner has a story. And one story here refuses to fade. Her name was Fanny. She was a young woman staying on the third floor in the early 1950s. One night, something happened. No one is sure exactly what. Some say it was an accident, others whisper it was murder. But the next morning, Fanny was found dead in her room, and she never checked out. Guests in room 201 report waking in the middle of the night to find a woman standing at the foot of the bed, her eyes dark and unblinking. She vanishes the moment they move, but the air stays icy cold for hours. Others have heard soft weeping in the hallway, followed by the gentle click of high heels on the wooden floor, fading into silence. One traveler swore he saw Fanny's reflection in the mirror standing just behind him, but when he spun around, the room was empty. The mirror, however, was still fogged in the shape of a handprint. Even the staff avoid talking about her too much, afraid she might be listening. And sometimes, late at night, the elevator stops on the second floor with no one inside. The doors slide open, and the hallway beyond is empty, except for the faint scent of perfume, drifting toward room 201. Some guests come here for the history, others for the thrill, but everyone leaves with the same uneasy feeling that Fanny is still there, waiting for the right moment to be noticed. From crumbling orphanages to lonely lighthouses and ghost towns frozen in time, Alaska's haunted history lingers in the cold air and midnight silence. Some spirits here seem to watch over their homes. Others seem to be waiting. The question is, if you ever find yourself in one of these places, will you walk away with just a story? Or will something follow you home?